Let me start off with a story real quick. So it was December of 2022. I realized I was very stagnant in life. I wasn't getting anywhere. I wasn't doing anything I wanted to do with my life. I wasn't running anymore. I wasn't ambitious toward my goals. I was out of shape. I was skinny. Skinny fat was the best way to put it. On top of that, I wasn't gaining any muscle. I wasn't going to the gym. I wasn't even attracting very many women. Now, sure, there was a little bit of a turning point. I started getting a little bit of attraction, made me want to start taking care of myself. So I did. In December of 2022, I decided now's the time, it's now or never. I started lifting, I started running, taking care of my skin. Suddenly, in 1 month, I regained everything I had before because I was lifting in the past, but I stopped. Why? Because I started smoking a lot of weed. I started drinking a lot of alcohol, eating shit food. I lost myself fully, entirely. So December, I said, everything's getting back on track. I'm very black and white. I said, I'm doing all these bad things. It's getting me nowhere, not getting what I want out of life. I'm gonna do the complete opposite. I'm doing what I can for failure. I'm gonna do what I can for success. December came along, I started thinking of what business model I could pursue. I kind of put my skills out on the table and I thought, well, I can run a lot. I have my own dogs. I know how to manage dogs, how to teach them. I've been training my own dogs. I said, why not start a dog running business? Kind of strange, out of the ordinary, not very common. But hey, it's a skill I had. I was able to run up to 20 miles a day. I had the drive to wake up early, work on my website. So that's what I did. From December to February, I woke up at 3 a.m. in the morning. I got 6 hours of sleep every night and I got to work. It was pitch black outside. I'd wake up, I'd brew a coffee, and I'd meditate for 30 minutes, grab my coffee. It was lukewarm, but I still was enough to get my damn fatigue blockers going, make sure I was ready to work on my business. And I did. I sat there 3, 4, 5 hours at a time, hustling my business, and that was it. Setting up the website, setting up advertisements, setting up Google, setting up all these things to where it'd be easy to network. Eventually, I got to the point where I started reaching out to businesses. I started sending out emails, seeing if I could network with other businesses, help me get my feet going. And one thing led to another. Things were running really well. I would say I was having about 6, 7 clients at this time. In February, I decided, okay, well, let me spend my riches, right? February came along, I was like, well, I'm doing well, like my business is, I'm gonna make it. I would say I'm a very cocky person. I tend to know that I will succeed in what I do. And February came along, I said, okay, let me spend those riches. I went to New York, spent about $5,000. I put that on my credit card and I didn't pay it off right away. I figured, I'm gonna make the money back, I'll pay it off. I was pretty done with my money. I have never really had money, so I didn't know how to go about using my money. So February, March, those 2 months, I realized, okay, this was a bad idea. I should have never overspent. I should have lived below my means and started to think, okay, this is gonna bite me in the butt. So I kept hustling as much as I could, networking, cold calling, any business related to dogs, animal shelters. I did it all. I tried to get as much exposure, posting flyers at dog parks. I would even pull aside in the middle of a really busy stoplight, put my car in park real quick, hop out, put a flyer on the stoplight, use tape, not even like a proper plastic band that locks in around. I would just tape it on. And this was during the time that it was raining almost every other week. So I would go out, put flyers, and then have to do it again. And it was super windy and it was a miserable time. It really was. But all of this, it felt right because I was working towards something. I told myself, look, I can't keep living stagnantly. I can't keep making the same wage. It's not gonna get me anywhere. I can't keep sitting here hoping someone else is gonna save me, hoping some manager's gonna be like, you know what, this kid's got it, let's move him up. I couldn't live with that. So I kept taking these steps, promoting, reaching out, cold calling, at the same time managing my clients, and at the same time learning about nutrition, learning how to take care of my body. Like I would say I got fairly big arms. I work out pretty consistently. I eat my protein. I make sure to do everything right. So I was in the midst of really developing as a man, really realizing, okay, these are the things it takes to make it, to level up in this world, to be the man I want to be. So like I said, February, March, a little bit higher stress, but it really made my feet keep pedaling. During this time, I'd say my stress was at the highest. I had tons of anxiety. I mean, I'm so insecure deep down. Like, I can't help but feel like I'm amazing, yet I am terrible no matter what I do. If I have a great physique, if I have my six-pack going on, I'm out on the beach, I'm one of the best looking there, I can't help but feel like I could be looking better. No matter what, it is this yin and yang of ego and insecurity. All of my life, it's always been there. Even taking it back all the way to elementary school, I had this same character trait. As a kid, I was the kid. I was head of my class. Everyone looked for me during recess. They were like, oh, where is he at? Like, what are we doing today? What are we gonna play? What are we gonna do? I was the leader throughout all of my youth. Yet I couldn't help but feel like I wasn't that identity. I always felt like I could be doing more. So after February, March, April came along, and this is actually where I was diagnosed, quote on. I decided, okay, look, my anxiety isn't going away. These awful thoughts aren't going away. Keep in mind, I am very open to religion, and during this time, I will say I was the closest to God I ever was. I truly was meditating every day. I was praying first thing in the morning. Like when I was up at 3 in the morning, 3:30, 4 in the morning, I'd make my coffee, I'd meditate, and I'd pray. I'd write gratitude journaling. I just was so appreciative of everything that I had because I knew that I was working towards something. I knew I was doing the right things. And every single time I felt like a failure, I kid you not, God was there. He sent me that sign. There was an instance where I was in Chick-fil-A. I was door dashing at this time as well, just to make a little extra income. And I was picking up an order, and I had so many thoughts going on in my mind. I thought, like, why am I door dashing? Like, this is awful. Like, this isn't me. Ego was getting in the way. I was telling myself, like, I shouldn't be making this sort of wage. Like, I've done so much more before. I've made more. Why am I stepping back? And it truly was ego. It was like going from a set income to less made me feel so less of myself and like less of a person. It wrecked me. So as I was walking back to my car, those were the only thoughts going on in my mind. I thought, well, like, I'm a failure. And I walk up with this food for this order, going to my car. My car is advertised with with my business company. And this lady pulls me aside. She's like, hey, hold on. Are you the owner of this car? And I thought, oh, yeah. And as soon as I said that, there were tears ready to come out of my eyes because of how much I was beating myself up mentally. But I knew exactly why she was confronting me, or pulling me aside. She wanted to talk about the business. I thought, shoot, well, this isn't a good time. I feel like I don't look good. My energy's off. And she said, oh, well, like, I have 3 German Shepherds, like I think 3 or 4. And she was like, I've been really looking into getting them out, but I can't because I have 4 or 5 kids, and being able to get their energy out would be a huge help. Is there any way I could look into your information? I was like, oh yeah, feel free, take a picture, look us up on my website, you'll find all the details. Basically just funneling her to make a payment and get my service going. And I got in my car, I just cried, man. And I get goosebumps thinking about it. Oh, man. I cried my entire way to that delivery. And I thank God the whole way through. I thanked them because I seriously thought I was ready to give up. I really was. I was like, thank you. Thank you, God, because I feel your signs. I feel every single time I'm at a low, you send something my way. You remind me that I'm capable of what I think I'm capable of. Now, believe in what you want. I think truly believing in a greater entity, something that helps you throughout your path, is my way of going about things. But there's no right from wrong here. In April, I decided enough was enough. I couldn't tolerate my thoughts. I couldn't do it. No matter how much I meditated, no matter how much I journaled, I couldn't help but feel like a failure in what I was doing. Even though I would say I had maybe 14, 15 clients, I was making a fair living, but again, I'll remind you, I loaded up my credit card. I was being stupid with my money. I thought I'll just pay it off, no biggie. And I didn't realize it accumulates. APR is a thing. I went from I think my credit card was as low as 12.99 APR all the way up to 24.99 by the time I was losing my mind, because it raises out of nowhere. It's ridiculous. In April, I made the visit. I said, okay, look, I have insurance, whatever. I'm gonna set it up. I'm gonna go see if maybe this is a bigger deal than I think. Maybe I need to be speaking to someone. Maybe I need a therapist. I just need to let my expressions out. I need to let my emotions out, because I was keeping them in. My ex at the time, when we were together, I couldn't be vulnerable with her. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't let her see me as the way I felt. I just felt like I was weak if I did that. So I didn't go to her. I didn't go to my family, because I don't want them to be something I rely on. I just want them to see me as someone that's really working toward their stuff. I don't want them to see me vulnerable. Maybe that's an interpersonal issue of my own. It probably is. But I thought, well, maybe if I link up with a stranger and I tell them what's on my mind, it'll make things better. So speaking with the therapist, I realized this isn't for me. The more I talked to this person about possibly feeling depressed or anxious and having all these mental problems, the more I felt like I had them, and the more I carried them day to day. So I thought, you know what? This isn't working. I feel worse, if anything. I feel like I'm identifying myself with depression. I'm identifying myself with anxiety. No, I'm sorry, I'm moving on. With my doctor, I kid you not, man, this pisses me off. You don't even understand. I have a buddy of mine that's on antidepressants and he's on Adderall. And I can't help but feel like they hand this shit out so easily. So easily. I kid you not. This was my first ever visit with this doctor. She looked at me like I was some lowlife, like I had problems. And maybe I'm just being arrogant, but I felt babied by this woman. I felt like she was trying to be my mom, and she was making me feel so fucking soft. She sat me down beside her and she pulled up this questionnaire on her computer. It was exactly 10 questions. 10 questions. I would think it was a scale of 5 points, 1 to 5, 5 being strongly agree, 1 being strongly disagree, and then 3 being neutral. And I kid you not, every single question I either answered strongly agree or I answered neutral. I can't remember the exact questions to this day. Let me think if I can remember one. I think one of them went along the lines of how often do you feel no sense of hope in life? And I thought, neutral, I don't really dwell on it, but I don't really think about it day to day. It's just there. I can't help but feel like the decisions I make day to day are what dictate my future. So I can't just not think about that. I will forever think about how I can possibly be a failure if I'm not taking the steps that I think I should be taking. So that question pissed me off. I was like, why is it a bad thing to be considering your future and how you should be behaving day to day? Another one was like lack of patience. I want to say something along the lines of inability to control emotions, perhaps aggression. Those I answered more neutral. Negative thoughts day to day, I said strongly agree. Like, it was just, I day to day will think, like I've said, of what I should be doing and what I'm not doing. And if I'm not taking steps forward, I'm gonna, in a sense, hate myself. I'm going to think I should be doing better, because life is competition. I can't just kick back and think, oh yeah, like, today I'll just take it off. I'll relax, kick my feet up. Maybe I'll watch this show all day long. It's my day off anyway. Like, let me just relax. That doesn't work with me. Since I was a young kid, I was 2, 3, 4, 5 years old. My mother would put the TV on and I never cared for it. Maybe I have ADHD, another diagnosis I could go convince myself that I have. Fucking hell. But yeah, I've never been a TV person. I always was outside playing marbles with other kids, socializing, running around with my cousin. I was very hyperactive and very full of life. And it's so crazy to think that in those days as a kid, I wasn't anxious about anything. I enjoyed every single moment. I had no fear of the world. I just enjoyed being out and getting my energy out, expressing myself. And as I grow up, I hit this age where I think I'm not gonna make it in this world. It's just ridiculous. So after this doctor's visit, I go home and I'm pissed off. I think I just was asked 10 questions, and because I agreed with them, she was like, oh yeah, like very soft toned, sympathetic, poor you, pity party going on. Oh, I'm so sorry, but like it does seem like you are very high on my anxiety scale, and I'm gonna have to treat you for this. What I would recommend is, eating better, exercising, getting sunlight, making sure you're sleeping. And I was just like, lady, I do all this shit. I do every single one of these things. Like, please, like, you're not being helpful whatsoever. And then she's like, maybe a therapist, some medication. I think what we're gonna start with is, it seems like you have everything else in control, because I was carrying my jug of water so she can kind of tell I had an interest in my health. And she goes out of her way of like, okay, maybe the best thing to do is maybe sign you up with a therapist and we can start you on antidepressants and see how you end up from there. And so I told her straight up, I don't know how I feel about medicating. I don't know if I agree with it. I feel like it's something that once you start it, it's really hard to come back from. And she kind of took my say on it too, but she still prescribed me it. She still did. She's like, look, I'm gonna send the prescription in case you're interested. Feel free to go pick it up. So I did. I said, maybe she's right. I'm gonna head over, grab my prescription, and have it at my nightstand just in case. I would say a month went by of me going back and forth, like, I don't need it, I shouldn't need it, I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing. That whole questionnaire was bullshit, because I feel like those are traits you should carry with yourself day to day. Because if you live in comfort every single day, you're gonna stay the same comfort every single day. But a month later, I did decide, like, I was like, wait, maybe this will help numb my thoughts. Maybe this will help me middle lane and make me feel not overwhelmed. So I kid you not, I woke up one day and I was like, okay, let me just try it. And I took one pill. The rest of the day, I don't know how quickly this stuff works. I haven't looked into it. I don't care to look into it. But the rest of that day, almost felt like I failed myself. I felt like that step of taking one of those medications was me giving up on myself, giving up on my ability to think my way through things, to sit with my thoughts, be one with myself, think greater of myself. I seriously thought that pill was the one way for me to say I give up. And I still think to this day, here's my opinion on medication, is when you start taking this stuff, you're relying on it. You're dependent. Coming off of this stuff, I've heard nightmares. I mean, as hard as giving up nicotine. They are adaptogens for a reason. They make it to where you don't feel what you're meant to be feeling. They block certain receptors. And I think in my personal life, I want to feel pain. I want to feel challenged. I want to feel discomfort, because I feel like that's where you find the most growth. If you're not uncomfortable, then I truly believe you're doing something wrong. I really do. I think you should be living on your edge of discomfort. You really should be. And this pill, when I took it, I thought I had given up, and this was it. I wasn't capable. I believe you should meditate, you should pray, you should believe in greater. You shouldn't rely on a chemical to block your receptors, numb you. Personally, I haven't done it for very long, but I could see how people in my life have changed when they do make that decision. As the title says, I was diagnosed with anxiety, but I don't think you should medicate. I think you should meditate. Who says that? I think J. Cole. See you, fellas.